This dude hasn't sold this much food in a day probably since the last time we were here.
Getting ready for you guys.
20 pounds of salt,
Sardines,
40 pounds of lentils,
tuna,
150 pounds of rice,
sugar,
40 pounds of beans,
coffee,
tons of everything else. A lot of food for a lot of people.
donuts, French fries, Kentucky Fried Chicken, everything for you guys. Everything.
It's going to be a long trip. Montezuma's Revenge, 33 people.
In 1956, 5 American men were killed by a remote Indian tribe in Ecuador. Almost 50 years later, their families journey to the Amazon rainforest to visit the tribe, the Waodani.
We buy machetes for clearing the garden in case there's a snake. The Waodani, you know, when they're hunting, they get a monkey or whatever, they use a machete to cut it up. It's always good to have machetes.
Here's the Waodani powered parachute back here. This one started out as a Destiny powered parachute which had 2 seats, but we took the back seat out. If you want to carry cargo, you fold this up and the sides up. If you want to carry passengers, you fold this down. And then it's got harnesses here for the rear passengers. And then if you need to carry a patient here, you unpin this, this folds down, and then you put the patient across here. The only thing that's really difficult is that to get this thing flying, you take the parachute and you lay it upside down, and then you get the engine going and hope that it won't blow the parachute out of position. And then when you start moving, give it enough throttle to start moving, and then you don't know where it's going to go. I mean, it kind of blows it up, and then you get going fast enough so that it'll come up and fly overhead, because one end might be tucked under, and if you take off then you have more lift on one side and it goes into a turn, which in the States in the big cow pasture is no problem, but down here on little narrow strips means you fly into the trees. So we thought, you know, if we build some masts, some poles, and could hold the parachute up in place, so as soon as you start to go boom, it's right there and it's all full. But we had these 30-foot poles hanging off this thing, and if you can imagine, went out to try it and it was kind of, but as soon as I started going, boom, the next thing I knew I was about 15 feet in the air, flew it around, worked just great. I really am convinced that we'll be able to teach anybody with normal dexterity, certainly anybody that can drive an automatic car, to fly this thing in a morning, certainly in a day, and then to maintain it in, say, a week. So we can put people in the air, not to make them pilots, but to give them a vehicle that fits what they need and where they live. The Waodani and people all over the jungles here use dugout canoes. People have asked me, you know, why they call them dugout canoes, because you cut the tree down, you slice a piece off the top, and then you hollow out what's left and then shape what's on the outside, and it makes a really nice boat, except the one that we had out in the jungles probably weighs 3,500, maybe 4,000 pounds by the time it soaks water. We were looking for a way to make lighter boats. This is one of the first ones that we built down here. This, hollowed out of a tree, would weigh a couple thousand pounds, and this one weighs about 200. I've got 13 members of the McCulley family and 8 members of the Fleming family. Could we do a quick tour?
If you've done any reading or know much about Nate Saint and the Operation Alka, you'll know that at some point early on in his work, he developed a technique that he called the bucket drop. And what he discovered is that if he circled the airplane around in a circle and dropped out a line with a bucket at the bottom of it, it would center in the bottom of the cone. Just like, you know, if you pictured an ice cream cone, he's flying around the rim, and the bucket would stay right down there at the point of the ice cream cone.
Ian and I were out on this airstrip here when Nate was doing all this practicing, trying to get this thing down.
Well, this is one of the buckets that he used for that process. Some of them were just plain buckets, and that's all they were, and they were used for just dropping supplies. Other ones, like this one, had a radio transmitter placed in the bottom of it, and he would send down a headset, and it could be connected to the radio transmitter, and he could actually talk to the guys on the ground. So in the early days, when the guys were just starting to develop runways, build the runways and so on, guys would go in for weeks at a time in order to prepare the runway, cut down the trees and get things all cleaned up. He would be able to talk to them and find out, hey, how you doing? Do you need any medications? Is there anything, any tools, any supplies you need, whatever? And would be able to communicate and coordinate, you know, when I need to come in the next time, this sort of thing. So the bucket drop is very significant in relation to the history of that operation.
We've been told that it's old, okay? And it's not, the floor is not very solid, so you need to be careful where you walk. Right to the right is the radio room, where Aunt Marge was always on the radio. You guys who have seen the documentary have seen all that. And right here, you know, this road, of course, was not concrete, but this was the hangar, and this is where Nate took the plane right up that little hill there to the runway.
That video of her running out onto the bank, didn't you guys tell us that was where that was?
Yeah.
She ran out to like check the weather or look.
Right.
We've got video of her doing that.
Some of you may have seen a picture of Steve standing up on the hill. Look, yeah, that's the hill, and none of that was there. So he could look and see the runway over there and see his dad landing and taking off.
This is where the round table was, or if you look at Life magazine, this is where it was Aunt Betty, Aunt Barbara, my mom, Aunt Mary Lou, and Olive. In the movie, they asked me to play Frank Johnson, and we drove up in Jeeps outside, and then what we were supposed to do was we got out and walked in here to tell the 5 wives, you know, what had happened to their husbands. I'd been flying, and I came in, and it wasn't until we were walking up to the house and I realized we're recreating something that really happened, and I just couldn't imagine, you know, these 5 wives waiting to find out for sure what had really happened. And when we walked in, you could just see these 5 actresses playing our 5 moms. I mean, they just were in shock, and you know, they started asking questions, and Aunt Mary Lou said, and did you find Ed? Did you find Ed? And Major Nuremberg says, no, we didn't find Ed. And then she says, so maybe Ed is still, and then I had to say, no, the Quichuas found his body downriver, and we just couldn't go downriver. And you know what, the young lady playing Aunt Mary Lou, she just reacted to it, you could tell, and my heart just almost stopped. I just couldn't imagine what it must have been like to tell them, or what it must have been like for them to receive that word. And then you wonder, how would I react? And how, if I didn't have confidence in a loving God, how would you not just go to pieces in a situation like that? 5 women, 9 children. One of the other scenes in the movie that, well, it's a takeoff on the picture of Steve McCulley and me standing out here on the bank, little kids, and you know, watching the plane taxi in. But they had one where they put some white stones out, and little Steve was allowed to go up to the stones, but he couldn't go beyond the stones. Now that was really the little hedge of flowers that were planted along here. I could stay on this side of the hedge, but I couldn't go out there because then I might, you know, run into the prop or something. And little Steve, at the time that his dad finally flies away, he somehow senses something is different here. So as he sees the plane taking off, he runs out, and he runs past the white stones, and then he runs out and he chases the plane. You see the plane take off, and you see this little boy just running after, and at that point he's really representing the heart of, you know, all 9 children who were, you know, they didn't know what was coming, but in their heart they wanted their dads to come back. So he runs down, and I think he's yelling, "I love you, Dad, I love you, Dad."
Looks like me, Roddy, Evan, and Jessica are going to be flying into Nemompade tonight.
Something I've never done before, going to the Amazon rainforest.
Yes, everybody else is going to show up tomorrow evening.
Silver solution, it purifies your water while acting as a natural antibiotic. It's great stuff.
So we're going to fly directly from Shell to Nemompade, and the camp is upriver a little bit from Nemompade. So we will hike or canoe upriver to the camp. Everybody else in the morning is going to
bus to Arajuno, and they're going to fly from Arajuno into Nemompade back and forth, 6 flights. Then they're going to get in canoes and take the ride downriver, which, if the river's low and they don't have a motor, it can take as much as 6 hours. Back in 1956, when they were doing their stuff, they flew from Arajuno over to here to land on the beach. Even though Shell was the home base, and they communicated with Shell, and that's where Grandpa Nate lived, Arajuno was the base they flew from.
We're going to Nemompade now.
If there's a pilot who knows the jungle, who knows what he's doing,
Are we gonna be safe?
this is him. Actually, there are 2 pilots here that are the best pilots in this area.
Okay.
One is Henry, and one is Steve Sage.
We're taking off and headed to the jungle.
Samantha! Quite the runway, isn't it?
Our pilot is now leaving, and we are left here in the jungle.
In the jungle.
Oh yeah. The first walk on the trail, right to the tribe's home. Nothing like it. I keep waiting for a monkey to jump down at any time.
The first time I ever came down this river, I was 16. We were heading down to Nemompade. It was a new village. The airstrip wasn't even finished yet. And the plan was that we were going to be here for a year. So it was the beginning of our year here. And I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know any of the people. I didn't know any of the language. You know, in some ways it was really exciting, just because I knew it was going to be like an adventure, you know, Swiss Family Robinson type of thing.
Friendly and humorous. They're good people. I wish I understood them a little better than I do.
This garden here is Yeti and Mengadi's garden. Mengadi is Minkai's daughter, and Yeti is Omene's son. He has the same name as me. I'm Yeti and he's Yeti, so in their culture, that's pretty much my garden. Because if you have the same name, it's like, not like you're the same person, but what you have to share. There's a connection there. There's a family connection. So if I wanted something out of that garden, I could just go take something out of that garden because I have the same name as he does.
We had to get across here in the water because the boat is a little heavy and it's dragging the bottom. So, our first experience in the river.
I always love coming down here and seeing the people. It really is like seeing family. And they live so far away that I like to bring my family down, but if I can't, I try to bring pictures. They always love seeing the pictures. They love seeing Jesse Joy, who they call Cope. They like seeing little Jacob Dewey, who we've named after one of the older men. And this is the first time they actually have a chance to see Mary Lou Dawa, who's named after Mary Lou McCulley, who just recently passed away. And Dawa, Kimo's way.
Nangin tebo pa nangit betul mo do ba pimengai betul waponi temenga menga andi penga hukanda pa ya nanu mo kambeti mo pimenga betul nangin tote imo pa.
Pui pui? Mud rock. What we'd call that. Damu? Damu. And this? Banana peel. Banana.
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 Winyana.
Winyana? Winyana.
Nombre?
Mauricia.
Maurina. Maurina. Oh, I don't know. Evan. No. No Eben. Evan.
Size 10. Who else wears a 10?
You can have 10 sizes.
These are in different sizes, guys. So
27.
you try that one on, and you try this one on. You want to go up to 39? That was a 38.
So we're here getting the best oven available in shop.
Make sure that your heel doesn't slide, but that your toes don't rub.
What size is that?
I wear 10.5 men, so try that 42 on.
Interesting.
Put your weight on this.
You feel good though. Fashion statement. Oh, I'm way ahead of everybody.
And then I need to try the left one.
Okay, I've got a 34. Diane, here's a 38.
Thank you.
Now just walk a little bit.
Protection from the chiggers, snakes,
Maniacs.
maniac.
No, nothing can protect you from that, I suppose.
Who has a size 38 on?
Chiggers are attracted to blue. You know this?
All right, now somebody got a chorus line going?
Getting boots with 35 people is a lot like pushing rope. Finally, we just say, guys, we got to go with what we got. Bare feet or boots. They're great boots. And we supply the boots. They're as good a boots as you can get for $4.75. Order your boots through iTech. That's itechusa.org. Wait, I'm guessing. I'd like to get everybody weighed. That's one of the big things. Going into the jungles, we're going to have to divide up into flights so that we can get in. You can take anything that you want, as long as it doesn't weigh over 10 pounds. Now, if you don't know what to take, and there's some stuff I'll help you. You don't mind me rifling your stuff, right? That's enough for 3 months. I don't think I'm going to make it. I think it's too heavy. That's borderline.
Borderline.
Yeah, but compared to your you don't have frame in here that you can take out, do you?
I don't think I can take it out.
That's me. That's 10. No.
This is the lightest one here.
Well, then hers should pass.
Cute.
You've got to check out the luxury room here in Shalmetta at the hotel we're staying in.
All right, give me a tour.
How'd you do?
I'm not staying in this room, but go ahead and take a look. Turn the light on.
You're good. He's Pat Morgan.
I really do have the luxury room. I've got a shower in my room. So I've got a very popular room.
You're over, but Sandy, it's not that bad. Uh-huh. You could stay a month and be okay. Do you feel guilty about anything in
Yeah, I
there?
didn't take out apricot. I didn't have to take out both, did I?
Okay.
I'll share my book with you.
Oh, no. No books. I'm going to tell you so many stories.
I know. We don't need books.
Yeah.
We don't need books.
Besides, if you have time to read, you have time to hunt for the rest of us.
Oh, okay.
You know the old line, this really hurts me more than it does you? What I keep picturing is those extra 2 pounds of dried apricots and you guys hitting those trees at the end of the runway. And I'm going to be saying, for apricots. For apricots.
That was in a yo-yo.
Hey, today was a good day. Had a lot of fun, saw a lot of things. Now we start into a different world. We are going beyond roads, and when we go beyond roads, the world changes yet again. It really does. When we get out in the jungles, the Waodani are going to take really good care of you, but it's just like it's hard for us to understand how little the Waodani know about our world. Like old Davo, he's probably in his early 80s, he got into the elevator, and there's a full wall mirror in the back of the elevator, and as he walked in, he saw somebody that looked like he was from the tribe. You know, he had the big holes in his ears and had a little bit of feathers in a crown, and Davo didn't know who this guy was. He'd never seen him before, and so he kind of looked like this, and then the guy started mimicking him. Everything Davo would do, the guy in the back of the elevator would do, and made Davo really nervous. I mean, he was really, it was the first time Davo had ever seen himself in a mirror. If you know what you don't know, tell one of the Waodani. They may not know what you're saying you don't know, but they'll probably figure out that you don't know, you know, if you should grab that snake, or if that's one of those that you don't grab. Just going to a foreign country isn't much. You can do that on Discovery Channel. When you go and you sleep in a Waodani hammock, in a Waodani thatched hut, and we find out that there isn't room, and the Waodani just say, well, here, I'll just sleep here, and some of us end up sleeping there, or we have to go out the second night and build our own little shelter to sleep in. And when we bathe in the river and your underwear gets full of silt and you sort of feel like, you know, I can't, that's all part of seeing things from their viewpoint. Now, you aren't going to make the whole transition, but for a few days, you're going to go to the receiving end, and by the time you leave, you will start seeing things differently than you did before. It isn't about building everybody a 3-bedroom rambler and letting them live in a gated community. Most people don't want that. They don't even know about that. What you are doing for the Waodani and for indigenous people here, just by going in and being friends, I promise you, is much, much more significant than if you came down and built them a church or something like that. But you know, Minkai comes up and he looks at the rat race that we live in. I mean, how many of us, if we lost our jobs for 3 or 6 months, what happens? I mean, our lives start turning upside down. The life in North America is not as good as it's touted to be, and I promise you the life of people that we see as being very poor is not nearly as poor. Oncónigo Kimba. Muchísimas gracias.
It's wonderful. It's a whole lot better than I thought it would be. This is banana juice. Manioc soup.
Tastes kind of like potato soup, actually.
What's it like being back again, Jess?
It's like home. It really is. Especially being with these guys and drinking this banana drink. This is a little fly that landed in my soup. I guess it was hungry too, but since there's no meat in here, I guess it's a good source of protein. A couple flies mixed with banana drink. Doesn't get any better than that.
Being with the Waodani for the first time is quite an experience. They don't understand you and you don't understand them, but you're able to communicate a lot of sign language and just kind of, you know, the best you can do.
They still seem to laugh at my jokes. And I just laugh when everyone else laughs, so it's all good.
Well, I'm in this really comfortable hammock that the Waodani's made. And, you know, I'll just kind of put my hat kind of like this, keep the vampire bats off of me, and everything should be just fine. It's great.
Beautiful day, gorgeous day. I'm just out here looking up at the stars, and I feel like I'm home. I feel so comfortable, so relaxed, so ready to spend some time with these people that I love.